All right, listeners, get ready, because this week's deep dive is a question we've all been dying to know the answer to. Is he cheating? We've got relationship advice, confessions, even some stuff from online therapy sessions.
Yeah, you guys definitely sent us a lot to unpack on this one.
It's like we're going undercover in the world of relationships.
And remember, everyone, we're not about pointing fingers. Every relationship is its own unique tapestry.
Ooh, I like that. A relationship tapestry.
So we're giving you the tools to analyze those threads and see if anything looks out of place.
Okay, so first things first. How do we even define cheating? I feel like it's not always so black and white.
You're right, it can be very nuanced. Some of the sources we got really highlighted how important it is for couples to set those boundaries early on, like what counts as cheating for you in your relationship.
Because what makes one person spiral might be, like, totally fine for another couple.
Exactly. What might seem small to you, like liking an ex's photo on Instagram, could be a huge deal for someone else.
Yeah, it's all about those unspoken agreements, those lines you don't cross. And whoa, the ways you can cross those lines. I was seeing articles on everything from, obviously, physical cheating, which we all think of first.
Yeah.
But then there's online affairs, financial cheating, even emotional cheating. It's a whole spectrum of betrayal.
Definitely. It's interesting you mention emotional cheating because a few therapists actually talked about that as a gateway to more physical infidelity.
Oh, wow. So, like, you get emotionally attached to someone else and then, boom, it escalates.
Exactly. It can start really innocently, but then those emotional connections can definitely blur the lines.
Okay, so those lines can be blurry, but everyone wants to know, what are the signs? Our sources gave us, like, 15 telltale signs he might be cheating. 15.
And remember, these are just signs, not guarantees, but they are things to pay attention to in your own relationships.
Right. It's like, oh, that's interesting. This is something to keep an eye on, not necessarily freak out about immediately. Okay, so let's dive into some of these signs. The first one that really jumped out at me was a sudden increase in self-care.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like he's never cared about cologne before, and suddenly he's like, Mr. Fancy Pants. Is that a red flag, or am I overthinking it?
It could be a red flag, but it really depends on the context. A genuine interest in self-improvement is great, right?
Yeah, we love to see that.
But if there's no explanation for this sudden change, like maybe he's trying to impress someone new.
Ooh, okay.
It's all about noticing those shifts that don't quite make sense.
It's giving me chills.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this one, the bedroom? One source mentioned that a change in, sexual behavior can be a sign, like maybe he's really into this new position and wants to do it all the time.
Yes, that's a good one.
Should we be worried? Is this like evidence of extracurricular activities?
Well, it could be, but it's tricky, right? It could
Yeah.
be he just learned something new or is feeling more adventurous. It's great to try new things in the bedroom.
For sure. Spice things up.
But it's when it's a sudden change and it's completely unexplained, then it makes you wonder, where'd that come from?
Right, like who taught you that, mister?
Exactly. Pay attention to those moments where you're like, hold on, this doesn't quite fit with everything else I know.
So note to self, if he suddenly whips out some crazy Kama Sutra move, maybe ask some questions.
It's probably a good idea.
Okay, this next one popped up everywhere. Communication breakdowns.
Sure.
Like, is that just a normal relationship bump? Or is he ghosting me because he's got a secret life?
Yeah, those communication patterns can be really telling.
How do you know if it's like just him having a bad day or something more?
It's not just about the quantity of communication, but the quality. So if he's normally really open about his day and suddenly he's like a vault.
Oh, yeah, I hate that. Like, how was your day? Fine.
Exactly. Or maybe he's suddenly really vague about his plans.
So he's not saying he's busy. He's just not saying anything at all. Suspicious.
Right. Or, and this came up in almost every source, he's suddenly glued to his phone.
Oh, the phone. We can't forget the phone.
Big red flag. Maybe he's super secretive about it.
Like, password changed his phone while I was in the bathroom, secretive.
Exactly. Or he's always, texting under the table or rushing off to take calls.
Like, his love life is on vibrate. Not good. Okay, gotta remember all this phone intel. Now, what about intimacy in general? Because one source said that both a decrease and an increase in libido could be a sign of cheating. How does that even work?
Yeah, that one seems a little counterintuitive, but think about it.
Okay, I'm thinking.
He could be initiating more often out of guilt or as a way to deflect suspicion.
Like, oh, she could never suspect me. I'm practically Romeo.
Right. But then, on the other hand, a sudden disinterest,
Oh, he's too tired all of a sudden. Yeah, I see where this is going.
it's all about those sudden shifts that don't have another explanation.
So basically, any big change, whether it's sex, his phone habits, or he's suddenly a man of mystery, those are all red flags. But what do you do with that information? Our sources were pretty clear about one thing. Don't just go in guns blazing.
Yeah. Oh no, confrontation shouldn't be your first move.
Really? I would think you'd want to just, like, rip the Band-Aid off.
It's tempting, but several experts actually recommended self-reflection before that conversation.
Oh, interesting. So before you even say anything, you have to do some soul-searching yourself.
Exactly. What are your feelings? What are your boundaries?
Like, what can I tolerate, and what's a deal breaker for me?
Exactly. A lot of experts recommended writing down your observations, how they make you feel, and even what you want to say.
So I need to treat this like a work presentation? Got my bullet points, ready to go.
It's not about being confrontational, it's about organizing your thoughts so you can communicate clearly, and that way you're less likely to get caught up in the heat of the moment and say something you don't mean.
Okay, no screaming matches or flying dishes.
Let's try to keep it civil.
Right, okay, deep breaths. Now, I feel like I'd be running to my friends for advice at this point.
Support systems are super important, but the sources actually cautioned against relying too heavily on others for advice in this particular situation.
Really? Why is that? Is that what friends are for?
Well, it's great to get support, but everyone's got opinions, you know.
Oh, for sure. And everyone's got that one friend with all the relationship drama.
Exactly. What worked for your bestie in her love life might not work for you. And sometimes, even with the best intentions, friends can be a little biased, you know?
Yeah, they might be team you all the way, whether you're right or wrong.
And that's not always helpful in the long run.
Yeah.
But having those people who will just listen without judgment, who'll bring you a tub of ice cream when you're feeling down,
The shoulder to cry on crew.
essential. You need those people, for sure. So it's finding that balance, leaning on them for support, but not letting their opinions completely overshadow your own gut feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've reflected, we had the tough conversation, but things still feel, I don't know, shaky. Several sources mentioned couples therapy. Is that like the next logical step if things aren't improving?
Absolutely. Therapy can be incredibly valuable, whether you're trying to rebuild trust or even just figure out how to move on in a healthy way.
It's interesting how the whole vibe around therapy has changed. It used to be this hush-hush thing, like you only went if your relationship was on life support.
Right, like a last resort.
But a lot of these experts were saying it's actually a sign of strength to seek help.
Totally. It shows you're invested in the relationship, that you're willing to put in the work.
You're not just throwing in the towel at the first sign of trouble.
Exactly. And even if ultimately you decide to go your separate ways, therapy can give you tools to heal and move on in a healthy way. It's an investment in yourself, you know?
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
100%. You have to take care of your own well-being, especially during a tough time like this.
Now, before we wrap things up, we have to talk about this Reddit confession you sent over.
Oh yeah, this one was a doozy.
It definitely takes the whole cheating thing to another level.
It really highlights how messy these situations can get.
Okay, so break it down for us.
So basically, this woman finds out her husband is cheating, or at least trying to, with their close friend's foster son.
Whoa, hold on. Not just any foster son, right? This is someone they know, probably care about.
Exactly. And to make it even more complicated, the foster son is 18, so legally an adult.
But still, the betrayal on so many levels, it's like infidelity on steroids.
It really shows how these situations can ripple outwards, affecting not just the couple, but their entire social circle.
It's a reminder that cheating isn't just about romantic betrayal. It's about breaking trust.
And it makes you realize how important those conversations about boundaries and expectations are.
Absolutely. So, listeners, we've covered a lot of ground today, from defining cheating, because it's not always obvious, to real-life heartbreak that proves just how messy things can get. But no matter what you're going through, remember, you're not alone.
And knowledge is power. Now that you're armed with all this information, trust your gut. Those instincts are there for a reason.
If something feels off, it probably is. You know yourself, and you know your relationship better than anyone. So trust those instincts, ask those tough questions, and remember, you deserve a love that's built on trust and respect. Until next time, everyone.